I'm BART Chief Communications Officer Linton Johnson, and this is BART Police Chief Kenton Rainey. K-E-N is in November, T is in Tom, O-N is in November, Rainey, R-A-I-N-E-Y, and he's here to give us an update on yesterday's officer-involved police shooting.
Good morning. As you're aware, last night at 9:46 p.m., we had an officer-involved shooting at our Civic Center Union Plaza station. The original call for service came in at 9:34 p.m., which was reported to our dispatch center. There was a white male subject in a tie-dye t-shirt, green military fatigue pants, walking around that platform with an open bottle of alcohol. Officers were dispatched to that location, but before they arrived, the call was updated at 9:43 that the suspect was also wobbly and appeared to be drunk on the platform. Two of our officers responded and arrived on scene at 9:45 p.m. via the San Francisco Millbrae bound train, contacted the suspect. The suspect was, in fact, had a bottle which was used as a weapon, and he was also armed with a knife. A confrontation occurred as a result of the suspect's aggressive actions, and fearing for their safeties, one of the officers discharged his duty weapon, striking the suspect. Paramedics were summoned and responded to the scene. CPR was performed on the suspect before he was transported to San Francisco General Hospital, where medical personnel pronounced him dead about an hour later. One of our officers received a minor cut to his arm from the confrontation, but both officers are otherwise all right and now with their families. They will be on routine administrative leave until they're cleared to return to duty by our departmental psychologist. I've been in touch with our independent auditor, Mark Smith, kept him abreast of the events surrounding this incident. This is still an ongoing investigation, and we encourage any potential witnesses to contact our criminal investigation section at 510-464-7040.
Were any of the officers, either of those officers, armed with tasers?
Yes, one had a taser.
Why did they choose not to use the taser?
At this point, I can't answer that question, but the taser is a tool. And when you're confronted with deadly force, again, it's a tool that the officer can choose to use or cannot choose to use. We usually confront deadly force, and a knife being deadly force, with other type of deadly force.
Has it been confirmed that this suspect was waving a knife, or was he waving a bottle, or?
I can't confirm that at this point. The subject was armed with a knife and actually used the bottle as a weapon as well.
How many years on duty do the officers have, and are they being cooperative at this point?
Yes, the officers are being cooperative.
And what's their experience level?
One officer has approximately 6 years of experience. The other officer has 18 months of experience.
Did a physical altercation happen between the officers and the suspect before the shooting occurred?
Confrontation occurred between the suspects and the officers. I don't want to go into a lot of detail at this point because we're still waiting for witnesses to come forward, and our criminal investigations division is conducting an active investigation.
Was the officer who was injured the one who fired his weapon?
I'm not going to comment on that at this point.
What does surveillance video show?
We do have surveillance video, but again, this is an active investigation. We want to make sure that all the witnesses come forward. We want their independent recollection and what they said they saw. We don't want them reporting what they hear or possibly see in the media.
Chief, were there any other passengers on the platform nearby?
Yes. It was a number of people on the platform.
And can you confirm that there were 3 shots fired? We're hearing reports that there were 3 shots reported?
No, I can't confirm that.
And the officer who's 6 years versus the one who's 18 months, can you give us a sense of which was the one who was injured?
No, not at this point, no.
Which one of them opened fire?
I'm not going to say that at this point either.
Where was the man shot?
in the front torso area, I believe.
And from what range, what distance?
I don't know.
Was the platform crowded at that time? Were there very many people there at that time of night, or was it pretty sparse?
There were a number of people on the platform.
Can you give us an idea of what words were exchanged between the officer and the officers and the suspect before the shots were fired?
No, I can't. Again, this is an active, ongoing investigation. Again, there were a number of people on the platform that need to be interviewed as witnesses, and we don't want to taint or influence their recollection by them seeing or hearing anything in the media.
Are you in
Were you
contact
able
with any
to talk
witnesses
to very
already?
many of them, after the shooting? Did some people stick around?
Some people definitely stuck around, and some people also still need to be contacted.
Can you talk a little bit about how the SFPD is helping out? I understand they're doing a parallel investigation, but maybe their CSI team is helping you all with gathering and evaluating evidence?
San Francisco PD is the lead investigative group on this. Their CSI team did respond and collect evidence. Our criminal investigations unit is also conducting an investigation, and we also will be conducting an administrative investigation into this incident.
Was deadly force the only option for this officer?
Without having all the facts, it's impossible for me to say that. As a police officer, again, somebody armed with a knife, deadly force is definitely in the realm of options.
Can you talk about the policy changes that BART has implemented between the Oscar Grant shooting and now that you feel may have, if they did, made a difference on this platform?
We've had a number of policy changes, a number of organizational changes as well. Obviously, on our use of force policies, we make sure that we respond supervisors to the scene immediately. We have a centralized watch commander's position located in our dispatch center that can immediately take command and control over these type of incidents because BART is a linear system. We have camera systems, CCTV cameras that view a lot of our properties, not the entire length of our properties, but they can a lot of times see what's going on and help coordinate a response. Our officers receive additional 40 hours of training every year, where most California police officers are only mandated to receive only 24 hours of training every 2 years. Our officers receive 40 hours training a year. Plus our officers are trained, our field training officers are trained in what we call the CIT method, crisis intervention training, where in situations where you potentially have a violent subject that's possibly mentally ill, our officers are trained on how to talk and de-escalate these type of situations.
The shooting took place. That, from what you know so far about what happened, are you satisfied that the officers followed the new training protocols and acted appropriately?
From what I know at this point, yes, I'm comfortable with what has occurred.
The shooting happened quickly, from what we're being told. What do police officers know that maybe the general public doesn't know about close quarters, altercations, that type of thing? I mean, this thing, it sounds like it turned into trouble real quick. Tell us a little bit about it.
These are these type of situations. There's no such thing as a routine situation. As I informed you guys, the original call for service was a subject on a platform with an open container of alcohol. The call was updated that the subject possibly was drunk, wobbly on the platform. They're very fluid, and you can't take them as routine because they can unfold quickly, very, very quickly and rapidly.
What more can you tell us about the victim?
The only thing I know at this point about the victim, that he's a white male, possibly the age range between 30 and 50 years of age, and that's a guesstimate.
I'm sorry, any sense of whether he'd been a presence at that station before or caused trouble at that station before, or was known throughout the system?
I do not have any information
So people
about
said
that.
that he was drunk and wobbly. Is that within itself something that that they were concerned about? I mean, was he doing anything else that would have caused the police to come there? Like, what was their intent? To take him off the platform or figure out if he could walk or?
Well, the original call that we received is that he had an open container of alcohol in our paid area, which is against the law. And the updated call for service was that he was wobbly and possibly drunk on the platform. Obviously, this is a safety for this individual, especially if he stumbles and falls upon the track and a train is coming. So you have multiple issues going. You have violation of the law and possible welfare to check this individual's welfare.
Have investigators identified the man, and are you in touch with his family?
No, we have not identified the man yet.
Can you have any identification on him?
I don't know.
You indicated
Which
the
platform
officers.
did it happen on? Which platform did it happen on? Platform 1 or platform 2? Which side?
You know what? I don't.
And did
Okay. Platform 1.
and did the surveillance cameras capture any of the confrontation? I know you can tell me what the surveillance video may show, but did it get caught on tape?
Part of the confrontation is caught on tape.
Any cell phone videos out there that you guys are looking at, as far as you know?
Don't know. Again, multiple individuals were on the platform, and we are definitely encouraging those individuals who possibly witnessed this incident to come forward or contact our Criminal Investigations Division at 510-464-7040.
And Chief, you indicated the officers arrived on the SF Millbrae train. Would it be typical at that station to have a couple officers around during the evening, or fairly warm summer night, or were there any other officers nearby, or I'm just trying to get a sense of how it's staffed on a weekend like
These would have
yesterday.
been our the two closest officers that were available to respond would have responded. And again, BART is a large system. We have 44 stations, and we generally only staff 22 to 23 officers per our primary shifts.
How many officer-involved shootings have you had since Johannes Messerly and Oscar Grant?
2.
I understand that one of your key witnesses was a train operator. Is that employee also on leave or getting any kind of counseling or anything like that?
I can't speak to that. I don't know if that person is on any type of administrative leave.
This is the first shooting in San Francisco?
Since I've been here. And I've only been here, this is my 13th month and second officer involved shooting.
Chief, could you speak to, in light of the Oscar Grant incident and how this will, are you concerned about how this will play in the public and the ridership, perhaps perception that our police officers are too aggressive in these kinds of situations? Are you concerned about any perceptions out there about the department?
Let me say this. Anybody that thinks officers wake up in the morning and want to be in these type of situations is just dead wrong. Look at this room. And your entire life is going to be turned upside down with this type of scrutiny, where everybody is going to be second guessing what you did or what you did not do. So as far as people thinking that the officers are being over aggressive, again, this individual was armed with a knife, also used the bottle as a weapon. The incident that occurred in July of last year, that individual was also armed with a knife and attacked not only BART officers but Oakland police officers.
Chief, did he have the knife out at the time, or did he just have it on him?
He had the knife out.
Did he charge or run towards the officer?
Again, I'm not going to go into any details.
Was the bottle broken so as to make it a weapon, or how was he holding the neck of it? What was the?
I'm not going to go into the exact details because this isn't an active, ongoing investigation.
I guess the big fear would be that he might hurt somebody else, or, I mean, I know the officers were there and one of them was hurt, but were there other people on the platform that were threatened at the time? And, I mean, with that, I imagine that was your biggest fear, that you would flash that at other people.
Obviously, that's there are multiple people on the platform, and that could have been a fear Yeah, but I'm not going to speculate exactly what was in the officer's mind.
Did one of the riders alert BART personnel that, hey, there's someone down here who's drunk and wobbly, and that was the process by which your officers were called in?
Our dispatchers actually received a call for service that this individual was on the platform with an open bottle of alcohol in violation of the law, and a call was updated by whoever called in. At this point, I don't know who that individual was, saying that the subject was also wobbly as he wandered around the platform.
So it would be safe to think that the calls came from someone down on the platform who saw this and said, hey, you guys need to come check this guy out, a rider who was down on the platform and firsthand saw this person? Or?
That's possible, but again, I don't know exactly who called in and made the report.
How does it get to your dispatch? Is it like a house phone, or is it 911, or how's that work?
Would you ask your question again, please?
How did the call come into dispatch? Is it through 911, or is it a house phone in the actual platform?
We can receive calls at our dispatch line at 510-464-7000. Calls can come in internally through our operations communications center, which actually runs the trains. And we can also receive 911 calls that are switched over. Most 911 calls will go to the California Highway Patrol, and once they are aware that this happening on the BART system, they're transferred to our dispatch center.
So you can't tell if this was a 911 call that a passenger may have made?
From what I was just told, that the original call came from our OCC center, Operations Communication Center.
So is that from a staff person, or is that from someone outside?
It would have. I don't know if the report came to them and then came to us, or something they observed, because they also have the ability to observe our CCTV camera system. I don't know, but the original call for service that I was able to listen to was a report that I read off at the beginning of my statement.
When will BART release the information of the person, the suspect in this case, his name? When will you have that information for us?
The medical examiner in San Francisco, he will release that information.
Will you guys be releasing any of the 911 tapes or any of the tapes at all at some point?
I would imagine possibly through, if the need arises or somebody does any type of records request, if we have to release that information, we would, but as a matter of routine, would we release that information? No.
What's the timeline for the investigation? After you talk to witnesses, what happens next? Is there an amount of time in which things need to happen?
Well, we want to conclude this investigation as quickly as possible, because we want to make sure, one of the questions that were asked, we want to make sure that the public knows that no BART police officers are not overly aggressive. They're out there. They're definitely out there doing their jobs, trying to make the system safe. So it's in our interest to conclude this investigation as quickly as possible. And also in conjunction with San Francisco PD and the San Francisco DA's office.
I would imagine you want to be thorough as well, especially with the scrutiny over the Oscar Grant shooting and the other officer-involved shooting.
And that's why San Francisco PD is involved, and also San Francisco DA's office is involved.
What time did the paramedic arrive, and when was the man pronounced dead?
The exact time the paramedic arrived on scene, I don't know, but the man was pronounced dead approximately 1 hour after the confrontation.
Is there any damage to the station itself from bullets entering walls or columns or anything like that? Any repair work that's going to need to be done after this?
I don't know.
Was the injured officer hospitalized, and was anybody else hurt?
No, the injured officer was not hospitalized.
Was it just the two officers, or were there other supervisors or other people in a different part of the station at that time? Or was it just...
It was just the two officers.
How long were the officers on the platform before the shooting took place?
Approximately 1 minute.
And what, minor cut? Because I was hearing cuts and bruises, but I want to make sure that
It's a minor cut
Is that, and how did they get the cut?
as a result of the confrontation.
Was it the bottle or the edge knife?
As a result of the confrontation.
So
I,
within,
and I understand you say you can't get into a lot of detail. You can't tell us what prompted this confrontation? Can you just give us some idea if the guy went after the officers?
Again, I'm not going to go into any details because this is an active, ongoing investigation, and we still have witnesses yet to interview, and we're encouraging other witnesses who we possibly missed to come forward.
But Chief, you're saying to us though that the officers got there, and 1 minute after they got there, they shot the guy. So that tells me that they went in there shooting.
And if that's your take on that,
can you
I
clear
can't.
that up for us?
I thought I did. I really thought I did. The guy is armed with a knife. The guy used a bottle as a weapon. One of our officers is injured. Our officers used that force which they felt was necessary in defense of their lives.
The officer, the injured officer, is he, I think you said this before, but is he the one that pulled the trigger, or is it his partner?
No, I didn't say that. I didn't answer that question.
So you're not going to say?
No.
Okay.
On the officer's injuries, earlier this morning your deputy chief said that it involved shards of glass in his arm, which would suggest that it was not a knife cut, but the bottle. So can you clarify that?
No, I can't.
So we'll just leave that as it is. Shards of glass in his arm.
If that's what he reported.
Okay.
so within a minute, Chief, the suspect had a knife and a bottle, used it against the officers in some type of confrontation, and within that same minute, the officer defended himself and killed the suspect. That's what you're pretty much saying here.
Yes.
Were there any civilians on the platform who reported being harassed or threatened or anything else by this guy?
No, I don't have any information to that effect.
Chief, do you frequently get calls about intoxicated people on platforms?
Yes. Yes.
And officers are sent to check out each one?
Absolutely. Obviously, because of some of the questions being asked, individuals, our patrons, commuters being harassed, but also, as I stated earlier, it's a well-being check because if an individual falls into the trackway, it's going to be pretty disastrous for that individual. So we definitely want to get on scene of those locations as quickly as possible to prevent loss of life or injury.
Do you know if the suspect had been in the BART system on a train, or was it just in the station? Anything like that?
The only report that I had, the subject was on the platform.
Do you know either of these officers personally?
What do you mean by personally?
If you would have a sense of their personalities, if you would describe them in one way or another?
Yeah, I know my personnel. They're just average, ordinary guys.
In general, when a passenger is intoxicated on the platform, are they allowed to proceed and ride the trains? Are they, are they removed from the area? Generally, what happens in that situation?
Well, when you say be it intoxicated or if they're being under the influence in violation of the law. And what the law states is an individual that cannot care for their own safety or the safety of others, it gives us the ability to take them into custody for being drunk in public, to try to prevent anything bad from happening. So on a call like this, we want our personnel to contact the individual, do some type of evaluation, determination. Can they proceed if they're trying to catch a train, or do we need to take them into custody for their own well-being or the well-being of others?
And was that sort of the goal in this situation, to take them into custody?
The goal would be to contact the individual to make a determination exactly what's going on. We don't want to send our personnel into situations with any predetermined conclusion, because you don't know what you're going to have until you get there.
Were the officers actually trying to make an arrest when the confrontation occurred?
I can't say they were actually trying. It happens very, very quickly. As the officers arrived, 9:45, and within 1 minute, they discharged their weapon. Had a discharge of a weapon.
Is there an autopsy being performed for toxicology, things like that?
Yes, all of those things will be done by the San Francisco coroner's office.
Chief, what did you see on the video?
I'm not going to say.
What can the public expect next in terms of information that you'll be coming forward with the next few days or weeks?
Well, we will definitely update what happened as we learn different things. Obviously, we want to identify who this individual is. Condolences go out to whomever he is and his family. Obviously, we want to make sure our personnel are okay. We want to get them back to work. And we're going to coordinate with San Francisco PD and the San Francisco DA's office in resolving this investigation.
So you still have no idea who the victim is?
No.
Do you have ID or anything on it?
You would have to contact the San Francisco coroner's office about that. They took control of the body.
Chief, did the independent police auditor go to the scene?
No, but me and Mark Smith, who is the new auditor, have been in close contact, and I've kept him updated as far as what has occurred and what has been done and what next steps we're going to be taking as we go forward.
Can you tell us the ages of both officers and how old the officer was who fired?
I don't have their ages.
Okay, any other questions?
Just to be sure, one officer fired.
As far as I know, only
Is that
one
the
officer.
injured one or the other one?
I'm not going to answer that question.